welcome from Lumberjack Systems, Philip Hodgetts.
Thank you. Thank you. I've prepared a little video to get started. And that's Lumberjack Builder. Right, so who's next on the program, Michael? No. There are a lot of people who will get you a transcript and get it to you in some sort of semi-automatic way based on machine learning. The trouble is, a transcript is a starting point. Unless you're getting a closed caption track of the finished project, the transcripts are starting points, and we have to do something with them. And, you know, traditionally we've done various different things with paper and literally cutting paragraphs apart, putting them back together again, and we moved on from that, and we copied paragraphs out of one document and pasted them in another text document. Both methods have the same serious defect. In no way are they working with the actual media, with the video and the audio, so there is a process where some lucky editor has to take all these paper notes or the text document, find the starting and end points of each of the clips, assuming they've given you a clip name and time codes, maybe, if you're lucky. And so you end up with this tedious conform. And while getting transcripts into an editing tool is great because you do get a benefit in being able to find things. When we got transcripts into Final Cut Pro 10 back in 2015, 4 years ago, Greg and I, thought it was a terrible, terrible experience. The editors, Patrick Southern and the rest of the editors on the O.J. Simpson project, thought it was a great step forward, and everyone else has caught up now. We hated the idea because Final Cut Pro 10, Premiere Pro, Media Composer are not great ways to build stories with transcripts. Media Composer goes a little way there with ScriptSync. Suddenly, but ScriptSync is really optimized for narrative, and if you're trying to build a story out of interviews, it's not there. We've been trying to solve this problem from long before even Final Cut Pro 10 was around. So we've created Lumberjack Builder, which is a standalone application in the Lumberjack system suite. It sits beside your NLE by the Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro, and it is an optimized environment for working with text and at the same time editing the video. That's why I call it a text-driven video editor. It's like a word processor and a video editor had a baby, and this would be Builder. Enough talking. Let's see how this actually works. So this is the first screen that you'll see when you come into Lumberjack Builder. On the left is our clip list, and this will represent the event or bin structure that you have in your host NLE. And you can update clips in there without duplicating, so you can update as the project evolves. I have synchronized these with transcripts, and
it forms the basis.
At any point, you can go straight to the paragraph. You can.
Yeah, I mean, that's because
you have the text, you have the media, and you're never divorced from the two. When you play with the text, when we edit the text, we edit the media. Lots of great metadata stuff here. I could talk about it for hours, and Michael loves it when I talk about metadata for hours on end. But I'm going to show you what the real magic is, and that's where we build stories. As I said, this is a project that I've logged. It took about an hour and a half to log this edit stock project. It's about climate change and how it will affect Galveston, Texas. And on the left, you see here are all of our selects. Everything that we did not explicitly reject in the transcript logging view, it will be here, and we can filter it and sort it. We've got some excellent sorting and filtering tools. On the right is where we're going to build our story or stories. You can have multiple stories, so you can copy a story and have a little variation on it so you can to play with it and see if it works better a different way, but keep both cuts live. So it's really, really easy. I know from doing the logging that somebody said something about 100 years that may not be around 100 years from now, and we can see that 100 years from now...
100 years from now, Galveston Island may not be here.
So that's our first clip, and I can drag and drop this across to there if you're tactile, if you like that sort of motion thing going on. You can click the button, or if you're like me and really want to be efficient, I just hit the E key for edit on the keyboard. And so I've now added that. I've now added my first clip to the story, and my storyline is starting. So I wonder if we're going to lose it. It does mean if the island's going to be not there, that maybe the beaches are going to erode. And jackpot, 2 more bits from Leon about beaches. Let me add those to my story, and let me play the story from the start.
100 years from now, Galveston Island may not be here. When I left Galveston in 1967, our beaches now are less than a block from the water.
So I immediately see a couple of problems with that, other than this is going to be a nightmare to get polished. We're going to be putting B-roll out of taking out all of those pauses. But for the moment, there are 2 things that I'd like to highlight. One is that first clip goes on long past the end of his timing. This was a manual transcription, and the timestamps are a lot less accurate than they are when we get automatic transcriptions. So if I play that.
100 years from now, Galveston Island may not be here.
That's enough, and I'm just going to trim it. So I've trimmed the end of the edit. So there's a keyboard equivalent, I just don't remember what it is right now. Probably option right square bracket, because we tended to borrow the Final Cut Pro 10 keyboard keystrokes, so even now. The other thing that happens is that these seem to be part of the same thought, but they're not continuous. And so what I need to do is I need to find out what was around that. So I leave it selected, I go back to my logging view. There's the same transcript selected and the same paragraph highlighted in the logging view. So I can say, well, I'm just going to merge those 2 paragraphs, and I could select both and use the merge paragraph button down here. But again, I'm a keyboard kind of guy, and it's so much faster with a keystroke. Right square bracket will merge the paragraph, the text range with the next text range. And now when I come back to our story, it has been updated to have the extra piece of media in there, and it is now a continuous through edit. Pretty good, huh? Having that context is incredibly valuable when you're trying to find the story. So one of the big issues with transcripts is if the word isn't mentioned, you don't find it. But what we do is we have a few extra tools to help you find the story, and that's just filtering through this list of amazing selects that we've had. I'm using the typical search, which is what most NLEs use, which is an or search. If climate or change appear in the transcript, then they will be highlighted, and you can see that they are highlighted. But it also highlights on exchange student, because that includes change. I want to make sure that I only get matches where it has both words in there, and now we have climate and change, so only where it's climate change appears. Anywhere it appears in the transcript, it's highlighted in yellow, but you'll notice a lot of paragraphs are selected that don't have any highlights in them. That's because they have climate change as a keyword tag applied. Having the ability to use both keyword tags and the search functions of the transcript means that you can find concepts and not just words. Transcripts are about words, edits are about concepts and emotion, and so you will need to find that. So I'm going to further limit it down to material that I've already favorited, because that helps get the demo moving a little bit faster. I didn't pay attention to climate change. Another way to see context is to simply clear the current selection, and the paragraph that you had highlighted will be selected in context again, and we can see that there's two quotes there that I want to use, so I'm just going to send them to my story. I think we'll just, there's an obvious jump cut problem up at the top, so I'm just going to move that up, and now we've changed the story around, we've moved the edit around, and so if I play that edit.
100 years from now, Galveston Island may not be here.
When I was younger, I didn't really pay attention to climate change.
When I left Galveston,
and so on. So we're very quickly building the story. We're able to move around it and change the paragraphs around exactly as you would be if you were copying and pasting in a word processing document. But this is much easier, and you have the video reference at any time, so you know exactly where you are and exactly how your story is going. And you can check the media to see what the emotion is behind the words. You know, if you just have the text document or the printed out page, you don't really know whether it's somebody talking like Leon talks or somebody who's a little hyper when I get excited and goes really fast, and you don't have any idea of that emotion until you actually look at the media. And you may find that out a long time after you've built your story. But being able to check the media at the same time, see how your story's progressing. And you don't have to start from the beginning every time. We can just...
our beaches now are less than a block from the water.
Yeah, clearly I
We have
wrote
to
that
take
up.
care of this country. I said this country.
So, you know, you don't have to start from the beginning. You can pick up and preview any part of the story, see how a particular sequence works without having to waste time. All right, one more. If we're talking about saving the world, maybe we're talking about Earth. And Jonathan has two great quotes here. And let me just move this one up a little bit earlier in between there.
And with everything that's going on, I don't want the earth to be in danger of like water rising up and...
Yeah, that was really tied up until the point where he said danger. So I'm just going to do an add edit and send that back to my selects list. So I hit a return to add my edit, if I undo that. And so I just hit a return to in there, split the paragraph, sent that back to my selects list so that I can use it somewhere else later if I want to. It'll come up in a search, it'll come up by keywords. If we were to export this story if this were really just a word processing document, we would have something that looked vaguely like that. And somebody is going to have the joy of sitting in a dark cave and match that up to actual media. Or you could have a life and you could be working in Lumberjack Builder, and we send it to the running instance of Premiere Pro, and there is your sequence exactly as it was in Builder. In the markers, you have all of the transcript and there, so you can read it through. It's in the markers. The names for the people and keywords that are given go automatically as lower third.
Galveston Island may not be here.
When I was younger, I didn't really...
And just because we worked with text, if you want to use your closed caption file, there's the closed caption track that goes with that. And to think the guy who made this happen, it came out of Greg's and my combined mind, but Greg wrote the code. Greg's the person that made my vision and my imagination into something real. So it's the guy that took your money on your way in. So he's pretty bloody incredible, and I am biased. I'm just going to take that out of the Premiere project so that we're back to where we started from. And let's go back into Builder and have a look at how we got to this point, some of the other features that we have. So I have a brand new Builder document. And you'll notice that at this point, I can import XML of either variety. It doesn't matter if you work with Final Cut Pro 10 or with Premiere Pro, Builder works transparently with XML from either application. So if you're a producer and you're actually doing the stories or a story editor, it doesn't matter if your editor, if this project is on Premiere Pro, this project is on Final Cut Pro 10, they're the same experience inside Builder completely and the same benefit back at the end. It's only when we imprint it with the first type of XML that it imports that it now knows that I am a Premiere Pro document and I will send the results back to Premiere Pro. If I had chosen Final Cut Pro 10 XML first, we would go back to Final Cut Pro 10. Now I look at this and I think, well, didn't that Premiere project have some more folders? And why, yes. Turns out that was an early piece of XML that somebody sent me. They've sent me a more up-to-date XML, conveniently labelled Premiere Pro XML2, and I've just updated that project. It included all of the same clips that were in the original XML import, but it didn't duplicate them. So you can just keep working on the project, adding to it over time as you get more interviews done. Right. Here, we need to associate these with transcripts, and we can link to a transcript or we can order transcripts from within the application. So I've just added 2 clips to a transcription batch. They are ready to upload now. You would be charged, it's the total of 9 minutes, 35 cents a minute, and it will be charged only that amount of money. You don't have to buy credits in advance. Lumberjack is a subscription service, so we already have a credit card on file at Stripe, and so we can make that connection back to your account by calling the customer ID. And so it makes it so much easier to build the transcriptions to a job if you're actually paying for it in discrete amounts that apply to that job rather than credits. And it was also the easiest way for us to get payment. Oh, you don't get free transcripts, I get free transcriptions. Normally, hey, rank has its privilege. What can I say? That would tell you the credit card that's on file, and so you would know what it's going to be charged to, just in case you want to go to Stripe and change the card for this particular job. If I were to submit this batch of 9 minutes, it would most likely be back to me within a minute. But even demo minutes are extremely long. The transcription happens at about 8 overall on a good bandwidth connection. Doesn't have to be enormous. We only send a small audio file. It is about 8 times real time, which means a 40-minute interview will be back within 5 minutes. 8 40-minute interviews will also be back in 5 minutes because they all happen in parallel. So it's a very, very quick process. As I said, demo time, everything on stage seems a lot longer. So I'm simply going to link to transcripts that we've got, many of which came with this edit stock project and some of which were done through the same system, through the Builder system. And Greg fixed a crash that happens at this point in my demo. You can see that Builder is finding any other associated transcripts and matching them up as well. If it's the same clip name and the same transcript name, it will automatically match those up, and so you don't have to go one by one. You can, if your transcripts don't match your clip names, you can match them up individually. Say this one goes with that, this one goes with that, but naming them consistently is a good idea. We also enforce a little, good behaviour. So, save the project right from the start. So, I can play the clip.
I heard that you stayed through the night.
Yeah,
JKL, we made sure that unlike QuickTime Player, when you speed it up, we keep the audio, we pitch correct the audio so that you can scrub through it twice normal speed. We have this is a range-based playback, so it will play whatever is selected.
Yeah, my partner and I, we stayed during the night. We had an option of leaving, but we didn't want to go to nobody else's house. We're very private people.
And now we've got another, that will stop at the end of that, whereas we have another mode, which is play-through mode, which will pick up the next paragraph.
Our lifestyle doesn't allow us to be living with somebody else, And we thought about it, and, our lifestyle doesn't allow.
What I just did was I merged it with the paragraph before on the fly and just started playing over the paragraph again so that I could hear what I had done. This is a machine transcription. I think it's actually pretty damn good. They are generally around 97 to 98% accurate with good quality audio, which is comparable to a human. The best I've ever got was a 40-something minute interview with my vocal coach, and 6 words out of about 4,500 words were not correct. So that was over 99.7% accurate. That is not normal, and punctuation is not great in these things either. But given that this is a noisy background, it's a close mic, but it's not perfect audio, it's done very, very well. One of the things that's not correct is this Ike. So you can make text corrections just like you can in a word processor. You select the thing you want to change, you change it. You don't have to click any special button to put in a period or a comma or any sort of punctuation. You want to put in punctuation? There's a keyboard for that. I'm just going to select everything in here. I'm going to add a people name. We saw the power of having people names as the lower third. And because it's been used somewhere else, it automatically auto-completes. And I'm also going to add a paper colour. Back in the day when we printed these out, we would print them on different... I didn't, I'm not that old. They printed out on different coloured papers for different speakers, and we've kept that model going so that you can identify who's speaking just by looking at the colour background to the paragraphs. Oh, look at that. We've been going good, haven't we? I'm going to go to this one down here. This is also a machine speech transcription.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, correction, I'm not the pastor of God's Kingdom Restoration Ministry. I'm the co-pastor. The gentleman that spoke, said the prayer, the first prayer, that's the pastor, Pastor Manuel Thomas. Amen.
Okay, so it's not a really good example of the best the machine can do. But I don't think anyone here would say that was good audio either. It's probably not production-worthy audio. But I don't want to lose this. I don't want to leave this behind in case I do want to come back to some of the content from here, which is why we not only support the best of what transcriptions give you, but the best of keyword tags. So first of all, I'm just going to get that little slightly offensive phrase out of my face. So I'm going to hit delete key to reject it. It will not appear in my selects list in the story building, but I'm also going to hide my rejected so they're not in my face when I'm working. And I'm just going to add a bit of blue colour to that for the paper colour. Now, the nice thing is I can add those keyword ranges. And here I just come down to here, justice in the heart. Yes. So now I'm adding a keyword to that whole range. So if we do want to find it, even though justice is only mentioned once in that whole range, we may still want to find it by finding that concept. So we use the keyword tagging that was developed from Final Cut Pro 10. We apply it in Builder so you can apply tags for concept to paragraphs that don't have the words that you might want to use. It makes finding this stuff when you get back to start building stories. It makes it so much easier. In fact, when I was logging this, I thought I was logging this faster than I normally would log, because this is and so I thought, I'll time myself. This, it's one way of actually knowing whether I'm faster or not, is time myself. This is a 14.5-minute interview, or segment from an interview, and I have been around logging I've logged all my entire career. It's one thing I've done consistently, and I would expect to log 15 minutes of material to take 30 minutes, maybe 35 or 40 minutes. Yeah? That's not unreasonable. Would you believe me if I said I logged it in 7.5 minutes? You have to, because it's true. So, yeah, it is so much faster to log when you can scan through the text and say, all right, this whole part's about this one topic. It's a continuous thought, put a keyword on it, bam, you can find that again as one unit, as one thought. And it makes life so much easier.
How's the keyword come over in Premiere?
In Premiere, it's in the marker. Yeah. Putting the concepts developed for Final Cut Pro 10 into the Premiere wineskins has been a challenge. We have finally worked out how we can bring all of the real-time logging to Premiere as well, and so that's Greg's summer project. So by end of summer, all of Lumberjack will be a parody for both platforms. I pointed out the paper color earlier, and this is a paper where, if I go back to my prepared one before, we can see here we have different paper color for Paul and different paper for Jada, so that it's easy to distinguish when we're just looking through the transcript who's talking where without having to look at the keyword. And I see that one of our transcriptionists was a Food Network fan, Giada instead of Jada, and so I could go through every instance and see where Jada might have been used by mistake, or I can go into the absolutely amazing and fabulous Keyword Manager. This is the Keyword Manager lets me manage my keywords globally across the entire document. I can merge them, I can delete them, I can bring in keywords from the web application that somebody else has entered, so I know what keywords I should be using. These would auto-complete if I'd started using them from the start. And I can just update things easily. So we have Jada, and Jada Van Dross, all are going to refer to the same person. I could go through paragraph by paragraph correcting. That would be good for billable hours. Or I can just drag and drop the correct one onto the incorrect one. Every instance of that name has now been updated across the entire document. I don't know whether it was used once or 100 times. We just updated everything. Jonathan and Jonathan Henry are the same person. Jonathan's father would have to be somebody Henry. And it's worth doing this because, as I said, these turn into lower thirds when we get back into Premiere Pro. So somebody has taken the time to type in on a full-size keyboard, upload into the web application that's part of Lumberjack system, and then you can just pull that back down into Builder wherever you are and pick up on that work. Similarly, over here, I've had a whole bunch of keywords that I thought were good ideas, but turns out were not story beats at all. There's very little material logged in them. If I've only got 47 seconds tagged with a keyword, it's probably not a major story beat. You think? So I'm simply going to delete those and get them out of my face. I don't know about you, but often if I get up, walk away, I come back and start logging again, I'll come up with a different word to log with, and clearly I've done that here. Being born on the island, same concept, different time, and being born on the island is the correct one, so I will simply correct the 3 minutes and 13 seconds that are not correct are now correct. And if I look at hurricanes, and again, previous hurricanes, past hurricanes, well, I logged a lot more with past hurricanes, but it turns out that whoever's in charge decided that previous hurricanes should be what we use. So we can drag from here as well, and we've updated across the entire document again. And that's the keyword manager. I don't think there's anything like a keyword manager in any application that I'm aware of. It is an incredibly powerful tool. It will become even more powerful when we start generating automatic keywords, extracting concept keywords automatically, which is part of our development plan. That's pretty much everything in Lumberjack. I'd just like to come back and show you a couple of extra features in the story. If you do absolutely have to have the words, somebody speak the words, we can make sure that we search only transcripts. So if we do that with our climate change, we're actually only going to get a relatively few text ranges that actually specifically mention climate change by word. Two more things in the storyline, or three things. As I said, you can duplicate a story and add a new story so that you can have different acts, so to make the documents manageable. You could do that. Different story beats. You could just build a story beat in a document and send it back to Premiere or Final Cut Pro 10. I like this story, the way it's developing, but I do think that after such a dramatic statement that Galveston is not going to be there, you want to give people a little time to contemplate what has just been said. So I'm going to suggest to the editor that we add a 3-second space in there. Well, we add a 3-second space. It's going to come across as simply a gap clip in the host NLE, and it's a suggestion to the editor that you want to put a little bit of B-roll in here and pause it. I was talking to Greg today about whether or not we should actually make that the ability to put a note into that so that you can send to the editor, I intend for you to put B-roll and a swell of music here, in case you didn't think about that. Now, as I've gone through all this, Builder has given you an incredible amount of resources and tools. There is one great joy in my life that Builder has taken away from me. I no longer get to hear my own voice over and over again in the edit bay with temp voiceover. Because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some temp voiceover.
The Earth is the only home we have.
It's using the system language and system voice. So if I just jump over there and say, well, maybe Karen from Australia is not right for this project. Kazza, yeah. Maybe Kazza's not right for the project. So I'm just going to come back here and recreate the voiceover. And watch what happens to the little icon.
The Earth is the only home we have.
In Final Cut Pro 10, we do actually provide the placeholder clip with the right icon selected. For Premiere Pro, it's just simply a gap clip that we get in the visual. That's everything that I showed you. We have a range of outputs. You can do an MP4, so you can put that in Dropbox or a Frame.io watch folder. You can export that voiceover as a separate document so that you can get it approved and recorded. You can print this story view as it is with the thumbnails. I don't recommend printing it to paper unless you have an account with a paper supplier or get it free. But you can use the print dialogue to print it to a PDF, and that's going to be very valuable because you'll have the thumbnail and the transcription. If we exported the script, that's what we would have had I showed you earlier. This one is a zipped XML, so you can send it to a workstation, not on, to Premiere on another workstation, or you can send it to Resolve for completion from either version. You can go from Builder straight to Resolve and finish there. I'm going to send it back to Premiere Pro like we did before, and we have that same timeline. It's just a little more.
100 years from now,
The lower third has been updated.
Ellis Nyland may not be here.
The gap clip is there, and Alex has taken over from Kazza.
The Earth is the only home we have.
And once again, we have the closed caption track, which you can then manipulate, add to, and correct in Premiere Pro. Everything that any other transcription app can give you is here inside Builder. You can correct transcripts, you can order transcripts, you align them with the media, but that's only the starting point. We give you somewhere to actually work with that, work with the transcriptions while you're working with the media at the same time. As I said, it's like a word processor and a video editor had a baby, and that baby is Builder. I think Builder is fabulous. I'd love for you all to try it. And so I'd love to give you a 1 month free to access to everything that Lumberjack is. All you have to do is set up an account, email me at philip@lumberjacksystem, and I will set it up from there. You can bring your own transcripts, or you can set up an account and buy transcripts during that period inside Builder. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.